This is Hannah and Cailin, back again with Double Talk.
I'm Hannah.
And I'm Cailin.
76 years after the publication of The Diary of a Young Girl, and 64 years after The Diary of Anne Frank hit theaters, National Geographic's A Small Light is telling a new side to the story of Anne Frank and her family, following Miep Gies, who helped hide Otto and the Frank family from the Nazis during World War II. Today we are speaking with actress Billie Boullet, who hopes her breakout role as Anne Frank allows audiences to relate to her in a way they never have before. Listen in. It's not often that an actor gets a chance to play not only a figure from history, like Anne Frank, but somebody whose thoughts and internal experience was just so intimately known by so many people. How did you prepare to play Anne Frank?
It was quite overwhelming at first. I didn't know where to start. Obviously, Anne had a diary, which helped immensely. For me, very earlier on into preparing for Anne, I decided not to watch any other interpretation of Anne because I didn't want to be swayed by how other actors would perceive the scene. And I also decided not to read Miep's autobiography because I didn't want other people's opinions or perspectives on Anne to tarnish how I thought of her and how I was going to do it. So what I did, I just really, really, really focused in on her diary. I audiobooked her diary, I read her diary, and I also got my mum to read it to me. So I had 3 different versions of processing what was going on. And the reason why I did this is because I really wanted to get into her mindset. And I wanted to see how she thought and what she thought of people and their relationships and what sort of words, triggered her and how would she react to those sort of things. So that's the version that I went in. I just wanted to become Anne and not the character version of Anne or a different actor interpreting Anne. I just wanted to be in her mindset and be truthful to her and how she would react in a certain situation.
What characteristic or facet of her personality or her worldview did you find most important to bring to your performance as you learned about her?
Before this whole audition process, I knew who she was, but I didn't know who she was. I thought she was this reserved girl who was shy, a very girly girl, and she's not. She's really opinionated and strong and she's fiery, which I had no clue that was her. So when I was reading her diary, I fell in love with that. And so I've honed in on my research to try and just get all of that fieriness out of her and put it into myself and try to put it into any scene that I was doing. And thankfully, Small Light have great writers who also thought the same thing as me and decided to write their scenes with Anne in the same way, with her fiery nature, with her bitiness. So my research and how I prepared for her and the writing that came to me went in hand, really. So it was quite easy for me, what I really wanted to take forward was her personality, her true personality. And A Small Light Writers allowed me to do that, which I thought was great, and I hope that comes through in my performance.
That's really interesting because I think I would say that I also thought that she'd be a bit reserved, if anything. I always got the impression that maybe she saved the personality for the diary. Is there anything else about Anne that you learned that you think that other people may not know?
Yes, she's fiery, and yes, she is all these things, but really at heart, she is a very emotional person, and she feels things to 100%. She'll let you know how she feels. I mean, she wears her heart on her sleeve. Her emotions are very much outwards, and I find that to be quite a vulnerable thing, to have your emotions so out and for everybody to see. And I just think that makes her 10 times stronger. I mean, she's this bitey, fiery person that, comes off as this confident person, but in retrospect, she is very vulnerable because her emotions are out there. She doesn't keep things within herself. And I really want people to understand that she is this very multi-layered person, as everybody is. She's not just this facade, she's not just this character that has been portrayed sometimes, but also has been educated in the education system. They've talked about Anne in this very victimized way, and yes, she is a victim, but she's so much more than that. She's so much more than her diary. She's so much more than what happened to her. Anne is an incredible young girl, and I feel like her whole story can so many people can learn so much from it. And maybe not as a whole, but different aspects of her life can be taken from it.
She really is the epitome of strength is vulnerability. They're one and the same. There's so many emotions while watching the series because on one hand, she is very inspiring and she does have this great personality, but on the other hand, what she's going through is so harrowing. How do you kind of balance that when bringing Anne Frank to life, the reality of what she's going through with kind of that fiery personality that never really left?
Balancing aspect is hard, I would say, but because I really seriously became my version of Anne in a very, it's weird. I honestly can't explain it. You really get into a person like that because it's not a character. You have to do so much research prior to it. I had to spend so many days before filming just trying to stay in her for as long as I could to see how it is. So it became a different skin to me that I just went into, and it was hard to take off whilst I was on set. I became this completely different person with different opinions, different ways of reacting, different mannerisms. And, if you take me away from it and you actually think of Anne, you couldn't really ask Anne, how did you balance that life? Because she had to just get on with it. She had to genuinely just deal. She had no days, no weeks, no months to prepare for herself to be hidden for so many years. Nothing like that. She was thrown into this, and you balance it in a way along the way, and along the journey you start to understand how to live with it. But you don't, because it's not a normal thing. She didn't have years to prepare, anything like that. So the way I balanced it, I didn't really. I kind of just had to get along with it the way that Anne had to just get along with it, because if I prepared myself and I tried to balance that out, it wouldn't be true to how or like what Anne went through, because she couldn't have done the research for it, and she couldn't have, stayed in a confined space for a certain amount of time before going into the annex, because she didn't have those resources, and she also didn't know that's what she had to do. So it was hard, and I hope this makes sense, but in a way I just had to throw myself in there the way that she had to.
How do you hope that viewers feel finishing the series? What do you hope they take away from it?
I really hope people get educated by this in a different way. I keep saying this to people, but it's seriously one of my favorite things about Small Light is that it's not told through a documentary style. It's not somebody talking at you for many, many hours about a topic that is very sad and quite depressing. They've made it with ups and downs and how life really is, which I think is better. It makes it a lot more relatable. You can watch it and you can be educated in a way that you haven't been before, because it hasn't been told like this. And definitely for Miep, her story hasn't been told. And definitely from her perspective and how she views Frank's, how she views the situation and what she went through with her husband and blah, blah, blah. I feel like it's so important to show her story, because none of this would have happened without her. And for people then not to know her, I find, it's sad that people don't know her. And I'm so grateful that now I'm here and I'm able to be a part of her story and to bring it to life, because she is amazing. She was 23 when she hit the Frank family, and I hope that people take away is that they see that she was 23. They see that she was young and she was still able to take this massive risk in her life to hide the Frank family at such a young age. And I hope that people see that, and anybody that's young sees that and thinks, oh, wow, she was 23. You know what? That means that I can do this thing that I've been thinking about. That means that this opportunity that's coming towards me now, I can manage it, even if it's big, even if I feel like I can't take it on. You can still do it. You just have to put your mind to it. Even when the obstacles come in your way, that is when you show your strength and you get past them and you fight for what you want. Because when the easy parts are easy, you don't show your true self and you don't show the strength that you have. It's only when the obstacles come in the way and the hardship comes that you get to show your true self. And I really hope that people see that in Miep, because my God, were there obstacles that came into her way during the time she was hiding them, and she lived through it until she was 100, and I really just want people to see that, get educated by that, and just draw anything from her and or anybody in the show and find their hope, find their light, find a different or new page in their book that they can start to write about, start to just live through.
So much of what I love about hearing you talk is that I can feel the way she influenced you. Like you said, you can't prepare for the worst things in life. You can't prepare for the best things in life. Like, it really is all about the way that you take it with as much joy and strength as you can. And that's what you really embodied about Anne so well.
For everybody that's in this show, people-wise, Miep and Anne, definitely Anne because I played her, I've learned that you seriously can find hope in anything. I mean, she found her hope and her escape in her diary, and that's an object. I mean, it's nothing. It's just a diary, but she found her whole life in that, and it's created so much hope of the people as well. So for me, what I took from it is that I can find my hope in anything. She also found her hope in Miep, You can find it in an object, you can find it in a person, you can find it in yourself, whatever it is. If you're going through a tough time, definitely like Anne was going through a tough time. I mean, she was going through her teenage years, some of the most important years of your life in hiding. And if she could find some joy, if she could find some hope, even through those times, and I'm going through a tough time, seriously, what I think back to is Anne. And I think, okay, what's something in my life right now? What's the one thing that's giving me the little bit of hope? I find it, and I just maximize it as much as I can. I focus on it. I make that what I do every single day, so that I get out of a rut. Because when you're going through a tough time, you're just in a rut. You just have to find something just to break it up, and then you're free again. And it's just, that is what I've learned from Anne, and that is 100% what I'm taking away from it, is just hope is such a small word, and it can be such a small thing, but it can make the biggest impact in your life. And that is seriously what I've taken away from it this past year.
If you could send any message to Anne right now, today, what would it be?
Honestly, I would thank her for being so brave, and tell her everything that she did in her life, no matter what she thinks or might think, I'm not sure, it wasn't a waste. Her writing that diary and spending every day on that, none of it was a waste, even if she passed early on, in her life, because she saved many lives through her diary, and she's made people realize many things in their lives at any age. Her dream of being a writer became true, and I just want to congratulate her on that. And she is one of the most famous writers in the world, and she was able to do that at such a young age, and I think it's absolutely incredible for her.
Do you think that she knew her influence before she passed?
I don't think she did. I think she knew that she was different. You can tell with somebody like that they're different. They have a core to them, a backbone. I think she knew that. I think she knew that she could make it, and I think she knew she could make a difference, from the way that she acts at such a young age. Going back through her diary and editing passages, and just she knew she was different, and I do believe that. I don't believe that she knew she was going to have this big of an influence with so many people with different ages. I think she knew that her diary could have been published, because obviously the Queen said that. But no, I'm very happy that it's become like this, and I think that she would be very happy and quite amazed, really, if that her diary is one of the biggest books and most translated books in the world, which I think she'll be very happy about it.